And speaking of ashes, that is one of the videos that I wanted to check out today. So this right here is the Harbinger update, bringing in new perspectives to Ashes of Creation. It's a video by no one. We have seen some of his videos in the past, and for some reason I forgot to subscribe, so I'm going to do that right now, because I've already seen some of his videos. I know that they are great, and this one is
All
probably going to be
right.
great as well.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and big dogs, of course? How is it going? I am no one. And in today's video, I wanted to do a video slightly different. I wanted to have some fun with you guys, kind of talking about something that I'm looking forward to before the early access release coming out on December 11th. And kind of wanted to talk to you guys about two different types of builds that you see for commenters in the Ashes of Creation space in Discord, and why I am looking forward to seeing these types of people's voices drown out due to the new players coming into the space. You see, Ashes of Creation is an open development early access project, or will be early access here in a couple days, but it's open development. Everything that you see that they're working on, it's available.
And by the time of you seeing this, it will be available in early access, and we will see what happens based on that. I've already been talking about both the negative and the positive aspects of early access. The thing is, the more I listen to Steven, the more I think it's going to be a positive thing. Because here's the thing. He really seems like he's a gamer trying to make games for gamers, which is something we are really, really, really missing right now in the gaming industry. We have a bunch of businessmen trying to make games to make money. I want to see somebody make games because they're gaming. And in this case, I think maybe we are getting close to that.
You can live stream on December 11th. You can go through everything. You can critique the project. The entire point that, in my opinion, that Ashes of Creation is trying to do is they're trying to avoid that opening day release fail that so many other MMORPGs have had recently. If you look back at what New World had on their opening release, they had a lot of people sign up, but the project, from just an enjoyment perspective, really left a lot to be desired. And it took them 3 years to really turn the game around. And at that point, the money decided that they didn't want to invest in the game anymore because it wasn't going anywhere. They spent 3 years developing the project. They didn't want to do it anymore, and they cut strings. And it was a real shame, because I want to say that this last DLC for New World was actually looking pretty good, and I would have loved to see a couple more.
Yeah, like the pipeline of New World, by the way, was crazy. I remember we saw this together on stream. We saw a video by the Lazy Peon talking about how the recent New World update was amazing, and then the next day, or I think even the same evening or something, I got a message on Discord from a content creator friend of mine who sent me a link that New World is being shut down, and I'm like, bro, what? I just went from seeing a video by somebody covering New World telling me the new update is crazy, and now it's getting shut down. I'm just like, bro, what just happened? The absolute roller coaster.
DLC strung together on the project. I think we could have had a fun turnaround story for New World if it weren't for, the disastrous launch that they had that really put them behind the 8-ball. If you look at Throne and Liberty, in my opinion, they kind of suffered in the same way. They spent over a decade working on their project, and when they released the beta, so many things were just off kilter for what players wanted that they had to try to change a bunch of things in a very short period of time. A lot of things were just not very enjoyable. And so players hopped in to play an MMORPG because, honestly, nothing really hits in the gaming space like a fun MMORPG. And it just wasn't really fun out of the bat for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of the newer MMORPGs struggle with this, where they take so long to develop, and then the development team rushes things through. They try to get a project out to make some money to keep it going.
Hello, I like money.
And due to the rush and due to the lack of polish, a lot of projects fail right out of the gate just due to these things happening. And I'm not saying they're going to, but Ashes of Creation's open development is kind of flipping the script where they shouldn't really have a bad release in that way, because you have a bunch of players trying and testing things now. They're going to hopefully provide constructive criticism and feedback, and as long as the development team is listening and working on it, they're going to make a better game than they would have had they not done that early access or that open development process. And for the last year, we have had people in the space that have been following the game since 2016. I've been following the project since 2020. We've had people that have read the Wikipedia forwards and backwards. We've had people watch every single live stream over and over and over again. They know everything about this project. They know the overall scope. They know so much that they know where the current Alpha 2 is and where it's going to be, and they can kind of have their own individual visions on where it's going to be at. And so all this is really important. It's good to have a core group of players that are willing to deal with nonsense for a while because they like the overall long-term vision of what the project is. But that's changing in a couple days. In a couple days, a group of people that are not following the project since 2016, that are not following the project closely, that are not watching every single live stream, will be seeing on Steam Ashes of Creation Early Access. And
I think this right here is the positive aspect of going into early access right now, by the way. Getting more feedback from a more diverse group of players, because right now most of the feedback that Intrepid they're getting is from people that have turned Ashes of Creation into their job since 2016. It's people that have played the game while it's in Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, like it's an actual game instead of a game in development. So in this case, they've been listening to feedback from the hardcore people, from content creators that their job is to talk about this game. We need more, well, I say we, Intrepid needs more feedback from the casual players. That is like, casual players is going to be 99% of their players anyway, so they need to start listening to 99% of future players, which is where the early access can have a really positive impact, and they can start getting more important feedback from a potential future player base.
They may want to try it out just due to the little blurb that is posted on there. They may see the 2-minute trailer and they may want to purchase it. And so they don't really have a strong opinion on the game. They're just going to try it out to see if they like it. They're going to see if it's fun. And that perspective from a more normal player base is really needed. It's really needed so that the development team can go, yeah, okay, our core systems are good, like this, everything's going great. They really like it. Or the opposite, like, hey, we're not heading in the right direction. The player base we thought we had is not going to enjoy this. We need to rework on things and we need to reiterate on things. And I think that perspective, if Ashes of Creation is ready for it, if Intrepid is ready for it, it's nothing but a good thing. It will do nothing in the long term, but help them make a better game than they would have had otherwise, because that perspective for players just wanting to see if the game is fun is very important, because that's what all it comes down to for video games. Is the game fun? If it's not fun, people aren't going to play it. If it is, they are. And that's all that matters. And so they got to see if it's fun or not. But with all that being said, with all that being said, there are two groups of players that have existed in the Ashes of Creation space for the last year that over time, they just really get on your nerves. And it'll be really nice to hear these new voices kind of drown out these voices, because I don't think they're helpful or constructive at all. These two groups of people are diametrically opposed to one another. They don't have similar viewpoints. Honestly, they piss each other off. And it's highly amusing to see how they piss each other off, because, frankly, the reason they piss each other off is because they do the exact same things that they do to everybody else to each other. And they're more closely related than they think they know. It's kind of like the political horseshoe theory. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before, but the horseshoe theory is that polar extremes of political viewpoints actually typically have more in common with each other than like the center. And because of that, they're more closely aligned. And these two groups of people, in my opinion, are actually more closely aligned than they think, even though they can't stand each other. Who are they? Who am I talking about, right? First one, I want to talk about the White Knights. I want to talk about the quote, "It's just an alpha bro," unquote, guys. Because no matter what you say about the project, any sort of criticism, you will be met with White Knights from the project telling you that it's just an alpha. If you're upset about, something that's in the game or it's not in the game, just an alpha, bro. It's not ready yet. Why do you think it was ready? That's what an alpha is. Like, you can't critique an early access open development project where they want constructive criticism. You can't critique this project. that they want criticism for, they want these critiques, you can't do it.
It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game.
Because it's just an alpha. And so this entire group will just bounce around on Discord and on YouTube comment sections, and they will tell you about how it's an alpha. And they're not wrong. It is an alpha. It 100% is. But it's like me in every argument walking around saying, hey, you're standing on ground. Like, you're just stating a fact. You're not rebuting an argument or a discussion or anything. You're just stating something that is factually true. And it's, you know, the lowest common denominator argument. And it really doesn't help the project. And I think that's the part that's annoying, right? Like, if I look at, as an example, I just want to show you as what I'm talking about. If we look at the last video I did where I provided constructive criticism on the economy.
You can't do that, man. You can't critique things on YouTube. You know better. You make your videos on YouTube. If you critique things, people are coming at you, man.
I was mostly positive in that video. I don't have to dive into all of it. You guys can feel free to go watch it if you want. But my
Oh yeah, like, you can be mostly positive, by the way, but if you bring up one critique, everyone's gonna focus on that. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of the same thing in real life, right? If you hear from 21 people that, wow, you're really kind, and then one person tells you that you are one ugly, like, you're so ugly that you're ugly inside the ugly, you're gonna focus on that one comment, right? That is a bad comparison, by the way, but hey, it is what it is.
One criticism on the economy is I think it's heading in the right direction. 80 to 90% of it I agree with. The one thing I disagree with is as it pertains to recipes. I think it's kind of silly, personally, that it takes like 400 trees cut down to make one bow. I think it's silly that it takes 200 or 300 trees to make one wand. I know we are orcs and dwarves and elves, and we are all casting magic spells and these sorts of things in a non-real world. So the thought process of me wanting something more realistic, I know it doesn't make much sense, but in the same way that some people don't like high DPS numbers, like when you hit something and it says like 50,000 or 100,000, some people don't like that really high number in their MMORPGs. They think it clutters up their UI. I think a high number for these recipe requirements, the hours spent isn't a big deal. It's just the high number requirement. I think that is a little much. And so I got a lot of people that agreed or disagreed with me. That's fine. There's plenty of things that you guys believe in that I disagree with as well, and that's okay. But I had one guy that commented and told me about how it wasn't a real game. It wasn't a full game, and I was hoping for a full game. And it's just an alpha. And if I want to play a full game, I should play a full game instead of Alpha 2. Never mind the fact that, you know, I've been following the project since 2020, and I really have long-term high hopes for this project. That's the reason I've been following for 5 years, and I hope that this game releases in a good state because I like the idea of what the game is. And so I want to provide...
This right here, like, basically everything he's been talking about so far is why I've been covering Ashes from the sidelines instead of making many videos on Ashes. I mean, number one, I'm mainly a World of Warcraft content creator to begin with, but I've been following Ashes for a while. I've already talked about this today, but Arcade was my favorite game of all time, like literally my favorite game, and I love Arcade. And if anybody's been watching some videos about Steven, they probably know that Ashes is heavily inspired by Arcade, just Arcade but removing the pay-to-win elements. So for me, I've been following Ashes for a long time, and the thing is, I would have loved to just make Ashes videos all the time, but when the game is in development, if I make something positive about the game, the people that are not positive are going to hate on my videos. If I make something negative about the game, or even constructive criticism about the game, or even like a singular system in the game as well, the people that love the game are going to hate on me as well. So like, no matter what I do, I can't win. If I make a positive thing, I'm a shill. If I make a negative thing, I'm a hater. If I'm in the middle talking about just objective things, I'm a fence sitter. I cannot win. So for me, I'm just going to wait until the game is further in development. I'm probably going to stream it, but I'm going to not make too many videos about Ashes or talk too much about my opinions about things, because it's never going to lead anywhere anyway. If I have any criticisms, I'm just going to write them to Intrepid or try to somehow talk to Steven. Just I don't know. At this point, the game is in development. If I have anything that I want to add, any feedback, it's better done by writing feedback through any sort of writing feedback means, in-game tickets, in-game things, writing mails, I don't know, forum posts, you know?
Critiques in order to make it better. And I think that's the entire point of the project. These White Knights don't want to hear it. And so although they're very passionate about the project, they do not really want to participate in open development of the project. It's just good as it is.
There's no war in Ba Sing Se.
The next group of players are the incredibly pessimistic and ironic "it's just an alpha bro" posters. They are extremely negative about the project. Now, it could be for
I've seen so many of those people, by the way.
variety of reasons. You know, maybe they are PvEers and they just don't want to let go. This game is a PvX game, and they're holding out hope that eventually the game will change, like every other RPG project that has failed in the last 10 years. Like maybe this is the one time that the change at the last minute makes a good project, and they're holding out hope for that to happen, but they're going to be pessimistic until it does. You know, those people exist. You also have people that have read and followed the wiki from front to back, and they know what exists in the alpha 2 and they know what doesn't. And to win points on the internet about arguing, they would like to point out all the things that don't exist. So when the desert gets released, they talk about the Jundar. There's no naval content. When there is naval content, they're going to talk about how we don't have the entire other continent that exists. When we finally get all 8 archetypes, you know, our summoners finally releasing here on the 11th, and we have all 8 initial archetypes, we can't yet combine these 8 archetypes with another 8 archetypes to create 64 classes. And so they're going to point out that the class system doesn't exist yet. They're going to point out that, you know, we don't have a ton of passives, that nodes can't get to the max level. It is a perpetual goal shifting of things that don't exist in the alpha. And it's annoying because, yeah, it's true. But once again, these players don't really care about constructive criticism about the project. They care about being right on the internet. They care about being pessimistic about where the project isn't right now, instead of critiquing where the project is. And like I talked about earlier with the whole horseshoe theory, these groups are closely aligned, because although one is extremely optimistic and one, you know, in their eyes, Intrepid can do no wrong, and in the other's eyes, Intrepid can't do anything right, they're both doing the exact same thing, which is not critiquing the alpha at all. The entire point of the Alpha 2 is for open development and constructive criticism. And although these two sides are diametrically opposed to one another, they do the exact same thing. They engage in the exact same behavior, and they annoy each other to death all the time because they're just stating lowest common denominator facts about where the game is at. Yes, it's just an alpha.
That right there is really a good point, by the way. Like, both of these types of people, like the people that are white knighting or the absolute haters, like, they accomplish the same, and that is absolutely nothing.
And yes, we don't have 64 classes yet. Like, these things are true, but it has nothing to do with like anything going on in the project at the time. Now, I don't talk to the developers in DMs or anything like that. I don't talk to Steven in DMs. I want to be clear that this is my opinion and my opinion alone. But imagine being a developer, right? And you're working on a project and you finally release the summoner, right? You finally release the summoner and you're like, man, I finally got this archetype coming out. It's going to summon these different pets that are going to come fight for you. One's going to do more DPS. One's going to heal. One's going to tank. Other MMORPGs have done the summoner really well. There's a very core group of players that enjoy this archetype, and they want to see
I'm one of them. Yeah,
it hit well in this game that they're eventually going to play and enjoy. I want to make sure that the feedback is good, that the skills feel good, that everything feels responsive, that it plays like a summoner that they kind of know, but it's got its own feel to it. And they release it to the world, and you get a group of players that go, you know, the positive players, it's perfect, absolutely nothing wrong with it, nothing to complain about here. You couldn't have hit it out of the park any better than you did, which doesn't really help. Obviously, it's not a complete project. It's not completed yet. Obviously, there has to be something you can tweak. There has to be something that has to be a little bit better, but you're not going to hear it from these people. And on the other side, you're going to hear nothing about the summoner itself. You're going to only hear about what it doesn't do. Well, I can't combine my summoner with my cleric, so it sucks. I can't combine my summoner with my tank, so it sucks. Like none of these things exist yet. This is just a really shitty archetype because these things that you haven't yet worked on don't exist yet. And it's like you're not getting any sort of class fantasy feel from this criticism at all. It doesn't help you with what you're working on. Now add that and expound that on every single thing in Alpha 2, on the economy, on caravans, on nodes. This is what these group of people...
The sad part is, here's the thing, everything he's saying is right, by the way, but I also feel like Ashes put themselves into this position by spending it. It's almost been 10 years now since they started development. I think it's been 7 or 8. I'm too lazy to Google exactly when development started now, but I think it's been 7 or 8 years in development, and it's been a long time since they started selling the Alpha 1 packages, which they sold for, I believe, hundreds of bucks, by the way, which creates two scenarios. Number one, people spend hundreds of dollars on your game, which makes them care about the game, because they already put in a lot of money into the game to care about it. So they've already played the game, they created like a relationship between the game, their characters, the amount of time they've put in. They care about the game. And then you have the other people that also put in the same amount of money, they put in time, but instead of like loving the game and talking positively about it because of it, they are now sick and tired of waiting. They spent hundreds of dollars, hundreds or thousands of hours on the game, and the game isn't even out yet, which turns them into that hater person. Which also, if one person makes a hate comment, a hate thread, a hate YouTube video, if a streamer starts hating the game, it spreads. More people start hating, so it starts with one hater who spreads his hate, and now you have 1,000 haters.
Do over and over and over again ad nauseum, and it's funny to read. I have a fun time reading it, but whether their intentions are good or not, it just seems like a huge waste of time to not follow the directions of what Intrepid has stated they wanted. So it'll be nice to see a bunch of new players come in and provide their perspective on what's existing in the game. And yeah, a lot of them will not know things. They will not know about the 64 archetypes or anything like that. They won't know that there's an entire other continent that's supposed to exist. They're just going to come in and they're going to say, hey, is the new player experience fun? Is it not fun? Yeah. Is the quest lines, are they good? Is working towards a node, is that fun?
They are not good, by the way, the quest lines, if you ask me. From the little bit of testing I've done, once again, I haven't really played it that much recently, but based on what I've played, what I've seen, and what I've heard other people say as well, but also what I've played mostly, questing is not that good in Ashes. Here's the thing though, it's not even beta yet, it's Alpha 2 still, so they still can change things here, but for me, there's not enough quests. There's not enough quests, there's not like enough meaningful quests, and there's not really a storyline in the quests either. For me, I like having a storyline. I'm not saying that we have to like quest all the way to max level, by the way, because I believe a certain amount of grind is good in a video game, but if all I'm doing is questing for the purpose of questing, and then all I'm doing after that is just grinding mobs for tens and tens of hours to get experience, I don't like that. I want there to be an overarching story, so whenever I'm doing quests, I know that I'm doing them for a reason, and there's a story behind why I'm doing those quests. That just makes doing those quests feel better as well, and I care more. Like, it adds a level of care to the quests, first of all, but also to the game. You feel like you playing the game, like you matter to the story.
Are node wars and node sieges fun? All they're going to look at is not in the Wikipedia. It's not in the stuff that doesn't exist yet. It's tangibly available for them, and they're going to be able to provide feedback on, is this fun? Which I think is nothing but a good thing. I'm gonna end this video here. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer it. As always, guys, thank you for watching.
There we go. That is the end of the video, by the way. I'm pausing it 1 second before it's over here. Yeah, I think it was a good video. In general, talking way more about Ashes, the early access, the positive aspects of it, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening based on the early access, because there can be multiple different outcomes here. It can be a positive thing, it can be a negative thing. I'm leaning more towards the positive aspect now, by the way. I think it's going to be a good thing for the game itself, and it's going to be important to get feedback. It's something that I've criticized Blizzard for, like the company behind World of Warcraft, and especially the Classic WoW dev team. They seem like they don't want feedback at all. They just want to make a game, and then you consume the game. In this case, Ashes is actually communicating with their player base. They're even doing, like, first of all, they're doing dev live streams, but even recently, Steven went on a stream with S-Fand. He seems to be really connected to the community playing his game, because he wants to get the game out there, first of all, but he also wants feedback from people. He's actively listening to the community, sometimes too much, but he's listening to people, not just streamers, but he's in chat all the time. You will see him, like, when he was in S-Fans stream as well, he was looking at comments from S-Fans chat and talking about them. So if you were just posting comments, he could have seen your comment and talked about it. It was really cool to see, and it's a developer that seems like he cares about, first of all, the game itself, but also the gamers, the community, playing the video game. Which is something we don't see often when you're a World of Warcraft player these days. Like, you see them tune into streams every now and then, when there's a new patch and it's an obvious PR move. In this case, like, he just goes on live streams randomly. It's not like 1 day of PR move only, as you can see from Blizzard quite often. They will have a 1 day where they do a bunch of interviews with a bunch of, like, big content creators, either in video formats or in stream formats. For Steven, he just does it all the time, just completely randomly all the time. And I really want to give bigger props for the amount of communication that both he and Ashes is doing all the time, through the weekly updates on the streams, the fireside chat, and also how active he is.